This is Sunday's Psychedelic Spirit with Aaron Akulis, brought to you by the Peace on Drugs podcast. I was overcome with a fear as I thought about my upcoming trip to North Carolina to visit my family. Would we get along? What is the likelihood that politics would come up and cause a nasty disagreement? And then a thought occurred to me. We have a finite amount of time on this planet. I only have so many visits left with my family before one of them becomes the last. Why and how could I let 1 minute be wasted on arguing about world politics? Why would we sacrifice a single moment that we could spend with each other in happiness and love to spend a moment in anger and rage? This thought led me to doing this Sunday's Psychedelic Spirit, Wrestling with Crocodiles. Hey Peaceniks, Sunday's Psychedelic Spirit is back for a week. I quit doing them for a few reasons. One, they weren't getting a lot of interest, though I did have a few friends reach out and told me that they enjoyed them. So that wasn't the main reason I stopped. The number one reason is I've been super busy at work, and I've spent all my free time working on the opioid crisis special, which I'm happy to say will be out this Thursday. So I decided to slip a psychedelic spirit in because I had a topic I found was really good. And as we get into this holiday season, I felt like it was an important one to put out. And also, I want my Peaceniks to know that the psychedelic spirit isn't over. It's never over. It'll just be, more of an occasional thing, like a special treat. So next week, my wife Megan and I are renting a motorhome, and we are taking the dogs to visit family in North Carolina. And we are so excited about this trip. But this is the first time that I've actually had real anxiety over seeing family because of politics. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, how many of you, sit on a different side of the fence than some of your family? Probably every one of you. And this has always been the case, right? Like, only now it's no longer a fence. It's a moat filled with crocodiles. And if you want to test the waters by bringing up which side of the moat you're on, well, there's a good chance you're going to have to wrestle a crocodile. Am I making sense here? Our country is so divided that if you go stay with your family for the holidays, there's a chance you will leave earlier than expected and not talk to them for a long time. I've heard this happening to many of my friends and to people in my own family. So I started thinking about why this is, and not from the perspective of who's to blame or what's to blame. It's because Trump or COVID or Black Lives Matter or wokeness or cancel culture or QAnon. Of course, all of these things have their place in our country's divide. But I want to come at this from a psychological and spiritual perspective. And hopefully, by looking at it this way and understanding the underlying emotions, we can avoid wrestling with crocodiles when we go to see our family. Now, the original title of this Sunday special, I was going to call it 2 Degrees to Politics, but I thought wrestling with crocodiles was more intriguing. So, like the 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, where if you name an actor, any actor, then in 6 or less movies, you can link him or her to Kevin Bacon. So, like an example, you take I wrote one down here. It was like Eminem, the rapper Eminem. Well, he was in 8 Mile. Kim Basinger played his mom in the movie 8 Mile. Kim Basinger was also in Batman with Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton was in Birdman with Ed Norton. Ed Norton was in Fight Club with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was in Sleepers with Kevin Bacon. So that's the 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. So how many degrees are we away to having a conversation turn political? My answer is no more than 2 degrees. And this is why it's so hard to avoid political conversations. Like we've all told our parents or cousins or friends, like when we show up to hang out, that we are not going to talk politics, and we all need to agree to disagree and just not bring it up. But within 5 minutes of a conversation, or arguing politics. So what's changed? I think what we're seeing is a political vortex, and this could really get this whole thing could get really bad for our country with this divide, because as the political vortex grows, more and more things get sucked in, and it becomes easier and easier for things to get political. So the vortex is it's like a political charge that's spinning and sucking in life issues, interests, people, and what it does with these things is it charges them politically once they get sucked into the vortex. So there's always been like a spinning wheel, and it's always, given things a political charge, but the things that is kind of like sucking them in and spitting them out, and it kind of stayed to just a few things, right? Like if you were pro-life, you leaned right. If you were pro-ending the drug war, left or libertarian. Bigger military budget, you leaned right. Socialized healthcare, you leaned left. So there was, always this like list of politically charged things, but it wasn't a huge list, and it didn't contain a whole lot of things that we could easily stumble upon in everyday conversations. We were always a few degrees from having a political discussion, but it was more than two. Everybody remembers the rule at the bar or when you're drinking: no talking politics or religion. Just avoid those two things. If you avoid those two things, if you don't directly start a conversation with something political and you avoid religion, the conversation almost never veered into the realm of politics. But now it's impossible to avoid talking politics because the vortex started spinning and sucking in everything. Things are politically charged now that never were before. Football. Bring up football, be like, I quit watching it when it got all political with that Kaepernick stuff. Or, vaccines and medicines now, political. You're like, I don't need a vaccine because I have ivermectin. These are personal choices for somebody to make. And but all of a sudden, if you say ivermectin, then that means that you must be far alt-right. If you took the vaccine as soon as it was available, then you're on the left. And these were not political things before. These were just personal medical decisions. If you think masks work, then you're left. If you think masks are bullshit, you lean right. So, here's some examples of conversations that will go straight into politics. How these, the issues, the conversation topics that you bring up are only 1 to 2 degrees away from turning political. So, like, when I go up to North Carolina, I was kind of imagining a conversation with my family. Like, I would have brought my bike with me to the mountains, but I couldn't get the right tires ordered because there's they're on back order and they wouldn't arrive for 6 weeks. And then someone says, that's because of COVID. Boom. You're into politics with COVID. Or you say, they wouldn't arrive for 6 weeks. And they, that's because Biden messed up the supply chain. Boom. Politics. Hey, how are things going in Florida? Not bad. Been really busy with work because so many people moved down here this year. Yeah, you have the best governor. Boom. We're right into politics. Like these things, they come so fast. There's also people on the left, these new, like with the woke thing that's happening, or the triggers that are happening with a lot of college kids, like you can't even ask where somebody's from because they'll be like, I'm from the United States. Where did you think I was from? It's like, no, it was just asking where you're from. And so there's some of these kind of things that are happening too. It's happening on the right. It's happening on the left. And also now, like, also you could be having a conversation with somebody and somebody just drive by with a mask on in the car by themselves, which is a funny thing to see, right? You're like, why are you wearing a mask by yourself? Like, do you sleep with a condom on when you sleep alone? And it was something I read that online somewhere. It was kind of funny, but I will say this. I've ridden in the car with a mask by myself by accident before. Back when you had to wear them at the store, I'd go to my car, wouldn't even think about it. So it could be that happening, or someone's an Uber driver. They're just so used to having it on. Who knows? But either way, you see that, and all of a sudden, you're really close to politics just by seeing that. You're really close to somebody bringing up politics. And also now, I'm seeing a lot of clothing that is politically charged. Blue and Black Lives Matter shirts. And I'm not saying that I disagree with the phrase Black Lives Matter, because of course I agree with that, and of course Black Lives Matter, they do. All I'm saying is that objectively, that the phrase is politically charged. It's become a political thing. It's the reason that phrase is the reason that Blue Lives Matter, the Blue Lives Matter response was a response phrase. And which, again, I don't disagree that the lives of cops matter as well. I don't want to put myself on a political side of anything today. Yes, I have my views. Some of you know what some of them are. But if someone listening doesn't share them, I don't want them to get upset and quit listening. When the point of this podcast today is for everyone, people on both sides. Our country will not be destroyed by, I don't believe our country will be destroyed by a liberal movement alone or a conservative movement alone. Our number one threat right now is the divide of our country. And we will not fix this divide by changing the minds of the other side. We can only heal the divide by bringing it back to a place where we actually agree to disagree and we settle it at the ballot box, not by taking violence to the streets, setting things on fire, or shooting up Walmarts, or some of the crazier things that have happened. Those things are not going to fix it. And also I see Trump shirts and Trump flags, rebel flags, though they've always been around. QAnon shirts. I saw a shirt that it said "fuck Biden." This just said "fuck Biden," and the letters for FUCK were made up of guns. And I'll say this, that's at least where I live. There's a lot more politically charged swag on the right. But it may be the opposite in California or Seattle, I don't know. My point is, though, that politics are now waiting behind almost every door. So how do we come together? Well, our nation, we are in a dark time right now. And if we're going to turn the ship that's headed towards civil war around, we're going to need to learn to disagree and leave politics at the door. And the best way to do this is start neutralizing the charge of things that shouldn't be political. And I think that if we start trying these things out at our family gatherings around the holidays and see if we can dial back that toxic political charge that's there, and we can have a good time with our families, those little gatherings are where we can start spreading the positivity to move it to a larger realm where we can all, as a society, kind of get past this whole COVID thing that's happened where everything got politicized, So we need to, like I say, neutralize the charge of things that shouldn't be political. Masks. Wear them or don't. Have an opinion whether to wear them or not. But it's not political. Vaccines. Take it or don't. Vaccine mandates. This is a hard thing to neutralize, this one. So we leave it at the door, right? Vaccine mandates, whatever your opinion is, it's going to be political. I agree that it's political. Anything the government's telling you have to put in your body, I can't personally stand behind. Not saying that I don't think vaccines are good, because I personally do think they're good. I guess I'm going to tell a little of my political opinion here. But again, I don't think it's a political opinion to have an opinion about vaccines. My opinion on this should not be political. I think that vaccines, if they're building up immunity, then they are good and people should take them. I think the government telling you what you have to put in your body to keep your job is a bad thing. So, those two things can exist. Again, those are the kind of things that if it's politically charged, like vaccines shouldn't be politically charged. We should be able to talk about them. Vaccine mandates may be politically charged, leave it at the door. Football, white people love to play it, and a lot of them like Trump. Black people love it, and they play it, and they have a right to exercise their freedom of speech by taking a knee. Honestly, I honestly think what we do is we neutralize the game, but we leave the kneeling and standing and the national anthem stuff, leave it at the door. Because you start talking about that, it's going to get political. Stick to the game. Leave the politically charged things at the door. Also, have a safe word or a signal. Like if you hold up your hand as a stop sign, or if you say the words, "too many farts in the air," then we all laugh and immediately change the subject. So these are my suggestions for when you get together with your family is try to take the political charge off things that shouldn't be political and leave the stuff that is politically charged at the door. And also tell your family, hey, I love you. I want to spend this time having a great time, great conversations. We don't agree on everything and we're never going to. And that doesn't matter because we have a right to our opinions. But if if something starts to, upset you and you feel like you're about to get mad because you feel like it's an attack on your person for whatever reason, here's the safe word. Too many farts in the air. You say it, we laugh, we move on. So this is going to be part 1 of the Psychedelic Spirit Wrestling with Crocodiles. I want everyone that's going to visit the family over Thanksgiving and Christmas to start thinking about these things. How can we have a great, warm, loving time with our family over the holidays? And when you go to visit, set this intention. Have an intention to go and have a great time, loving time with your family like you did when you were children, and set that as the intention and leave everything else out of it. Do not even think about, well, how am I going to argue if my family thinks the election is stolen and I think it's not? I need to look up as much as I can so I can plead my case. You're not going there for a debate, but if you do all that research, then you're going there for a debate. You're looking for a fight. And I'm speaking to myself too on this. Anything that I think I need to argue with my family politically, that I need to do some research before I go, I'm not going to do, because I'm not going there for a fight. That's setting the wrong intention. So don't worry about your politics. Leave that back at home, wherever you need to have it, if you ever even need to have it at all in your life. So this podcast will have a second part before Thanksgiving, because I'm setting my intention for the trip that we have coming up next week. We're spending the week before Halloween and Halloween with my family in North Carolina. I'm going to go visit them. I'll be there for an entire week with a bunch of different friends and family. So basically, part 2 is I'm going to let you know how it went, how it worked, possibly what didn't work. I'm hoping that I come back with just telling you that it was the most amazing trip and that it really made a difference setting the intention. That's what my hope is, but I'm not going to lie to you. We'll see how it goes. I do love my family to death, and we do not agree on a lot of things, but I think we agree that we would rather spend our time happy and creating memories that are worth remembering than we would spending time yelling and disagreeing and talking about what a disaster the trip was. So that's it for this Psychedelic Spirit. Make sure you tune in this week. I'm releasing my opioid crisis special. I spent a lot of time researching it because it was so important that I didn't want it to be one of those things where I just kind of do a little research and I do a funny commercial and I just talk my opinion into the mic. I spent a lot of time reading a lot of things and reading a lot of books, and I'll be reading things from a lot of these books. It's a very important podcast because we've had there was over 93,000 people died of drug overdose in 2020 in the U.S. So this is a very important topic. So this is the opioid crisis special. Will be out Thursday. And that's it for this Sunday Psychedelic Spirit. Like I say, part 2, how my trip went in North Carolina, will be coming up soon. And remember to always do your best to be kind to one another. I love you. Peace out.